Hi there. How are you today? I've got a fun story to tell you, and you'll be surprised it was written by a man called Charles Perrault, and he was born in 1628. And you're going to say, what has he got to tell me? Well, I'll tell you. It's as true today as it was in 1628. It's called Ridiculous Wishes. So come along and let's find out what you can learn and what not to do with your wishes. The Ridiculous Wishes by Charles Perrault. In days long past, there lived a poor woodcutter who found life very hard. Indeed, it was his lot to toil for little guerdon. And although he was young and happily married, there were moments when he wished himself dead and below ground. One day, at his work, he again was lamenting his fate. Some men, he said, have only to make known their desires, and straightway these are granted, and their every wish fulfilled. But it has availed me little to wish for naught, for the gods are deaf to the prayers of such as I. As he spoke these words, there was a great noise of thunder, and Jupiter appeared before him, wielding his mighty thunderbolts. Oh, poor man was stricken with fear and threw himself on the ground. My lord, he said, forget my foolish speech, heed not my wishes, but cease thy thundering. Have no fear, answered Jupiter. I have heard thy plate, and I have come hither to show thee how greatly thou hast wronged me. Hark! I, who am sovereign lord of this world, promise to grant in full the first 3 wishes which it will please thee to utter. Whatever these may be, consider well what these things can bring thee, joy and prosperity, as thy happiness is at stake. Be not over hasty, but resolve the matter in your mind. Having thus spoken, Jupiter withdrew himself and made his ascent to Olympus. As for the woodcutter, he blithely corded his wood bundle, and throwing it over his shoulder, made his way home. To one so light of heart, the load seemed light, and his thoughts were merry as he strolled along. Many a wish came into his mind, but he was resolved to seek the advice of his wife, who was a young woman of good understanding. He had soon reached his cottage and cast the bundle of wood. Behold me, Fanny, he said. Make up the fire and spread the board, and let there be no stint. We are wealthy, Fanny, wealthy forevermore. We have only to wish for whatever we may desire. Thereupon he took his story of what had befallen that day. Fanny, whose mind was quick and active, immediately conceived many plans for the advancement of their fortune. But she approved her husband's resolve to act with prudence and constriction. "'Twere a pity," he said, "to spend our chances through impatience. We had best take counsel of the night and wish until tomorrow." "That is well spoken," answered Harry. "Meanwhile, fetch a bottle of our best, and we will drink to our good fortune." "What fine glowing embers," he said, "and what a fine toasting fire! I wish I had a black pudding at hand." Hardly he spoken these words when his wife beheld to her great astonishment a long black pudding which, issuing from the corner of the hearth, came winding and wiggling towards her. She uttered a cry of fear, and then again exclaimed in dismay, when she perceived that this strange occurrence was due to the wish which her husband had so rashly and foolishly spoken. Turning upon him in her anger and disappointment, she called the poor man and the abusive names that she could think of. "What?" she said to him. "When you call for the kingdom, for gold, pearls, and rubies, diamonds, the princely garments, and wealth untold, is this the time to set your mind upon black puddings? "Nay," answered the man, "'twas a thoughtless speech, and a sad mistake. But I shall now be on my guard, and shall do better next time." "Who knows that you will?" returned his wife. "Once a witless fool, always a witless fool." Giving free rein to her vexation and ill temper, she continued to upbraid her husband until his anger also was stirred, and he was wielding a second bid and wished himself a widower. "Enough, woman," he cried at her, but a check upon thy forward tongue. Who had heard such impotence as this? A plague on the stew and on her pudding. Would to heaven it hang at the end of her nose. No sooner had the husband given voice to these words than the wish was straightway granted, and the long coil of black pudding appeared grafted to the angry dame's nose. Our man paused when he beheld what he had wrought. Fanny was a comely young woman, and blessed with good looks, and truth to tell, this new ornament did not set off her beauty. Yet it offered one advantage, that it hung right before her mouth. It would effectively curb her speech. So having now but one wish left, he had only resolved to make good use of it without further delay, before another mischance could befall, to wish himself a kingdom of his own. He was about to speak the word, when he was stayed by a sudden thought. "It is true," he said, "that there is none so great as a king, but what of a queen that must share his dignity? With what grace would she sit beside me on the throne, with a yard of black pudding for a nose?" In this dilemma he resolved to put the case to Fanny, and to leave her to decide whether she would rather be a queen, with this horrible appendage marring her good looks, or remain a peasant wife, but with her shapely nose revealed of this untoward addition. Fanny's mind was soon made up. Although she dreamt of a crown and scepter, yet a woman's first wish is to always please. To this great desire all else must yield, and Fanny would rather be fair and drugget than be a queen with an ugly nose. Thus our woodcutter did not change his state, did not become a potentate, or fill his purse with golden crowns. He was thankful enough to use his remaining wish to a more humble purpose, and forthright relieved his wife of her encumbrance. Was that an interesting story? And didn't you learn something from it? Even though Charles Perrault said this in the 1600s, he said people do make ridiculous wishes. And don't you think they still do today? And now you'll know not to ever make a ridiculous wish. You'll always think first and make sure that it's worthwhile. So happy to good wishes, and thanks for staying. I'll come back again soon.